This is a map of China. Among other things, China is famous for its rivers. One of its longest rivers is the Yellow River. You can see that the Yellow River is almost as long as the famous Yangtze River. My trip started by driving to Hancheng from the city of Xi'an. The main freeway had almost no traffic. However, you certainly did not want to exceed the speed limit because every mile or so there was a radar and camera tower beside the road. If you were caught going above the speed limit, you were sent a traffic ticket. Some of the traffic signs were in English. Hancheng was our destination. I had a driver guide, Mr. Gao. He was from a different part of China and often had to stop and ask a local for directions. The city of Han Shin has a park dedicated to its most famous resident, the historian Sima Qian. In the 1st century BC, Sima Qian chronicled the different aspects of the Han dynasty. The park has a rustic and ancient feel to it. Some finishing touches were still being made when I visited the park. There was a small temple on the grounds. The park was built beside an ancient fortress-like place. Now it contains the tomb of the historian Sima Qian. From the top of these walls, you could see a modern traffic-carrying bridge high above and over the floodplain of the nearby Yellow River. We left downtown Hancheng and drove out into the countryside, a short distance away, to visit the Ming dynasty village of Dangchao twins. I doubt that I pronounced that right. This 14th century village is perfectly preserved and features courtyard houses. Because it is so well preserved, it's a tourist destination. This village is the original home of the Dang clan. The Dang clan were successful merchants who ferried timber and other goods across the nearby Yellow River. Since then, it has evolved into the quintessential farming community. The interior of the houses was simple, and due to the current tourist nature of the village, it was easy for my guide, Mr. Gao, to gain entrance. Gao would engage a local in some conversation, and the locals then were quite willing to share their knowledge about the details of the local culture and of the types of designs that we saw. Gao would try to understand what the locals were explaining, and then Gao would translate what he'd learned for me in English. There was lots of use of the color red and of carvings. Oh.
Yeah, after the person died, the body just the portrait picture of the dead person.
Pictures, huh?
Place here, is placed here. Yeah.
This is the town's temple. Inside, there are tables to put food on during celebrations. Most of the residential doorways had these removable barriers across the front door opening. These were to prevent the happiness on the inside from flowing out of the dwelling. At the entrance of a building, you would often see lions. This is a female is carrying a baby, and this is a male because it is carrying the world. I saw a few people outside chatting. Small dogs seemed to be the favored. When Mr. Gao was doing his translation, it was often hard for me to understand what he was trying to say.
Just the main use is for the door, here. You like the small hole here? Yeah, put the door there.
If I understand him correctly, these round objects at the doorway are merely decorations.
Yeah, just for decoration, for the door, to fix the door.
And the barrier across the door is put there when night falls.
Ah,
And I was pleased that the residents did not seem to mind my videoing them.
Bench. Daytime, you take it away, use as the bench.
In the old days, the horses were tied to the house outside through this ring in the wall. This dog was both barking at us and wagging its tail. I don't know what this is used for. This local came outfitted with a microphone. He must normally deal with more people at one time. You can see carvings many places on the outside of buildings. It's one of the special features of this ancient village.
That's the symbol of the 4 seasons in peace. Yeah, in the bottle, in Chinese means 瓶子. The pronunciation of bottle with the 瓶子. Peace.
325 families live in this village. There are 125 gray brick courtyard houses. In almost each house we visited, they've something to sell, but they're not pushy. This room was kind of a personal museum. The lady was prepared to sell us a book. This is a bed from long ago. And here is a photo of the clan members several decades ago. This is a handmade loom used to weave cloth. As I said earlier, one of the special features of this village is its open courtyards. There are substantial pillars and supports inside of these buildings. Here's another lion draped in red. In one alley, several workmen were repairing the surface. Here is the three-dimensional model of the village. In addition to the lower village, there's an upper fortified part to the village. We chose to walk up to the upper fortified village. This is the entry point to the upper village's protective wall. This is the tunnel through the wall. The wall is really thick. Some parts of the wall looked really old. This upper part of the village looked deserted when I was there. We drove back into Hancheng. I like to watch the street activity as we drive. I think it says something about the way people live and interact. And on the way into the center of town, Mr. Gao spotted a cafe. It didn't look like a cafe to me from the storefront, but then I don't speak Chinese. It was a small place. I think we were the second customers. The menu had no pictures of the food. The menu was all in Chinese characters. I had to rely on Mr. Gao to make sense of it all and make acceptable selections. The utensils were provided to us in plastic wrappings. I always order beer to drink. I figure it's the safest for my stomach. And of course, there was tea. Suddenly I heard explosions and I stepped outside. They seemed to be fireworks in celebration of some event. It even brought smoke down around the buildings. And then left for the next place on our adventure along the Yellow River.